I just want to really ask you, can you explain the thought and detail that went into making the video package for Kingston and Claudio for the potential main event for the Ring of Honor show? And also, could you see potentially more video packages like that further along in not only Ring of Honor, but potentially maybe AEW, especially if there's a long history of a rivalry, so to say, with the wrestlers?
In AEW and in the year that I've been running Ring of Honor since last year's Supercard event, I've tried to always respect the history of wrestling and of the wrestlers. So if you look back, there's been a lot of historical video packages where we've played off the history. And also when Claudio came in, I know he has a past with Eddie, and they have history, and it's not all good history, and a lot of it's very bad, but they had a friendship, and they're both very professional. And it's one of those matches where the people genuinely don't get along, but they are willing to work together and have a match. And I think I immediately embraced this. And if you look back at that video package, really it captured a lot of history that was told before AEW and even outside of ROH. But then they both have a history in ROH before they came to AEW. And then in AEW, their paths really crossed last summer when Claudio arrived. And, of course, they were on the same team in the Blood and Guts match. And in what could have been one of the real highlight moments in Eddie Kingston's career is he had an opportunity to get the tap-out win over Chris Jericho. It was, of course, Claudio who came in and took the win, took the moment. And it was Claudio's music that played at the end of one of the most important AEW events. And now in Ring of Honor, Claudio is the world champion. Claudio has made a lot of headlines. And, of course, we've seen the Blackpool Combat Club have a darker attitude, a darker side in recent weeks and months. And Claudio is a huge part of that. And he casts a big shadow over the world of wrestling, and he's the Ring of Honor world champion and a dominant player in the history of ROH, and that's why I think it's so fitting he's here. So I really respect the history of wrestling, but to give the most credit to any one person for that package existing and going to Joseph and getting at Joseph Weirdness and having him narrate it and use the storytelling, a lot of what he'd already made and existed, and then completing that story to getting it up to date. It's obviously a very complex rivalry, but also catching up, and telling a more accurate, it's far from a complete story, but at least to date now we've gone back and updated with AEW and the Ring of Honor and the things that have been happening in these careers for Claudio and Eddie Kingston. The person I give the most credit to for the package existing is Eddie Kingston. I was actually at Eddie Kingston's house, and he suggested to make it, and it was a great idea, and he's a brilliant mind for wrestling, and he showed me the old package. I knew they had the history, and he said we could do this for the match, and I thought it was brilliant, and it's just a good example of the great insights of Eddie Kingston. And I'm very excited for the match, and I thought the package did a great job telling their story, and I'm very excited to see how this plays out at Supercard tomorrow night on pay-per-view.